My name is Tom Storey. I currently own 4 properties with an estimated value of $4.1 million, and we're going to talk about that today.
Wow, man. 4.1. Okay. So you're just a rich guy and you bought just properties immediately and they're already worth $4.1 million. Or I want to ask you, how does a young guy like yourself start off in real estate? For those of you watching, I'm not talking about in real estate as a real estate agent.
Sure.
That's not what anybody cares about.
Nope.
You bought a property at what age?
My first property at 23 years old.
And how much did you pay for that property?
I paid $350,000.
$350,000. Okay. How the hell does a kid at 23 years old come up with down payment?
Yep.
First of all, how much of a down payment?
I put 20% down on that, so
20%?
roughly 70,000-ish.
And you're just, again, a rich kid? Parents helped out?
No, I wish that is not the case.
Okay.
So that first property, I had started working full-time at about the first year of being like 22 years old, like starting that year. So I bought this into like my mid-23rd year, basically, so a year and a half in. I decided that during that time, because I was in the real estate industry and actually helping a lot of my friends start renting places, and I was like, oh man, I could move downtown right now and rent something awesome. But I just like, I couldn't do it. I was in the industry, I was looking at like long-term, what it would be like to own properties. Like, I'm just gonna save up.
Yeah.
So that first year and a half, frankly, like sucked. I lived in my parents' basement. I remember even like first year in real estate, selling real estate.
So hang on, you're licensed.
I'm licensed selling real estate and I live in my parents' basement.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so I was licensed, but I was working. And in that first year, I was meeting clients, starting to do things. And I saved up as much as I could. I basically saved up, I think like $45,000 in that first year and a half, actually saved it.
Now that was income from selling and leasing homes.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Now, what happened was I got to the point where I thought, okay, I have almost enough of a down payment. And full disclosure, my parents did help me.
Okay.
They helped me with $20,000 extra.
Okay, cool.
But what happened too is I was self-employed at the time, and I didn't have enough 2-year statements to show that I could get a mortgage. So that first property, my dad co-signed with me, and I lived there. I covered all the costs because I could afford what it was going to be on a monthly basis, but I couldn't afford necessarily the total down payment at that time, or just getting the mortgage approval.
Okay, so you bought your first property. Dad came. Now, did Dad just co-sign for the loan, or did he have to come on title?
He was actually on title with me. Yep. Yep.
And then, so you bought that property and moved in and just became a millionaire off of that one property.
Unfortunately not. Basically what happened is that was the first property, which I've actually sold now. But I sold that to put money into other properties.
Hang on, at 23 years old, that's how many years ago now? Because you're like 6 now, right? So
that was 7 years ago.
Okay, so 7 years ago, what did 350 get you in downtown Toronto?
It got me a 640 square foot condo with no parking in King Street West.
No parking. You Toronto city people are so crazy that you buy, like, to me, that doesn't make sense, right? Being from the burbs. It doesn't make sense at all. Okay, so 1 bedroom, basically smallest little apartment.
Nice little loft apartment, good area, but nothing special.
Okay, cool. Yeah. And then you moved in.
Then I moved in. I lived there for about a year. And actually, funny, the no parking thing, I rented parking from the building next door.
Okay.
And that's what got me to my second property, actually.
So wait. So you live in building A, and then every day when this doesn't make any sense. So you do you get like a fob and everything and go into building B to get your car out?
Yes.
Really? What does that cost?
It cost me $200 a month to rent that parking spot.
Holy smokes. Okay. Yeah. Now, here's maybe a side question. Do you think if you were able to get financing for more, you would have been able to just, for that $200, you could have paid, say, 50 grand more and bought something with parking?
Yeah, 100%. If I could have afforded more, I could.
So like 350 was like...
It was the math. I didn't have, that was pretty much what I could afford at the time. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so you said because you rented parking, you bought another,
Sure.
Explain now.
Okay, so I was renting parking at the building next door, meaning when I would get groceries and stuff, I'd have to park, bring them up, walk outside, walk to my building, go up the elevator. It wasn't easy, but in that area, it was really tough to get parking. The person that I rented parking from, the building next door, came to me one day and said, Tom, I'm sorry, I'm going to sell my condo. You can't have parking anymore.
Your parking landlord.
Correct.
Okay.
So at that time...
I'm sorry, this is such a ridiculous concept to me, but okay, let's keep going.
So at that time I said, wait, what are you selling? because I was thinking at that time, like, okay, the space is good, but I'd saved up some more money in that time frame. This is like a year later, by the way. I said, let me see your place. Why don't I buy your place? Like really just saying it like out of nowhere. I had no plan. I went and saw it. I walked in. I was like, oh my God, this is perfect. It was an 868 square foot condo. It was 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, had a parking spot, obviously, at the building next door.
Okay. So is that, now Tom and I are friends, full disclosure. Tom and I are friends. Is that the unit that I saw the first time?
Yes.
Okay.
I still own that property.
Oh, okay. So you still, okay. So wait, did you sell condo number 1 to get to condo number 2? Or did you get to a spot where you could buy condo number 2 and keep it? The first one?
When that happened, I had to sell condo number 1. I couldn't have afforded to keep both at the time.
Okay. So you sell condo number 1, you bought for $350, is it?
Yep.
Okay. What'd you sell it for?
$415.
Okay. In how many years?
Basically a year.
Holy crap. Okay. Good. So you're doing good. And then you purchased the new 2-bed unit for
$570.
$570. Okay. So we're taking on a bit now. Did Dad have to come on to the
No,
second
at
property?
this point, I had enough experience as someone that's self-employed and had done a little bit better in earnings and income that I was able to qualify for this one on my own.
Okay, cool. What is next? So you didn't just sit there. You didn't just go, okay, I'm done
No.
in real estate. I'm happy with my principal residence, because so many people do that.
Yeah.
Right. So what was the next step? So now we're back down to one property, just a bigger property.
Yes, which I was living in.
Okay.
Next step was actually another property came for sale at the original building that I had owned that first one at. And at the time, I couldn't afford to buy it myself again. So I actually went in with a friend of mine and we each owned a percentage of it and bought it together.
Okay.
He lived there during that time. And again, like this was just how the market was doing. But the condo market in Toronto at that time frame in 2016 went a little bit crazy. And that condo went up like $100,000 in a year.
Okay.
And at the time, we had actually refinanced that condo, took out a bunch of money, which set me up for something later, and was still able to, if we rented it out, cover the entire cost.
Okay, so you co-owned then the second property.
It was the only way I could have done it, yeah.
Okay. And then the friend actually lived there?
Yeah, he lived there.
So he covered expenses?
Him living there was like as if we were renting it to somebody. So he would cover all the expenses of living there.
So you didn't really have much liability unless your friend flaked out on you?
Basically, yeah. There was not much to worry about.
That's really unique, because most people, you're just buying an investment property and renting it to somebody totally random, right? So I know some of these banks are starting to kind of kick in the idea of like this co-ownership thing.
Right.
And that's kind of what you did.
Co-ownership has helped me leverage the opportunities that got me. Yeah, 100%.
Are you still friends with that person?
100%.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Because that can go south, right?
Oh yeah, I mean like those relationships. Like he was I'm the guy that understood like where opportunities were available in the real estate side of things.
Yeah.
He's like a stats whiz, like ran all the numbers. Like he's better on that side of stuff. So we had unique.
So
pros.
what is the, I guess the, I don't want to say attraction. That's not the right word. Did he come to you one day and say, "Listen, I really want to try and get into a place," or did you know he needed help? Or
we had talked because we were friends, and he had actually said, "Why don't we buy like a multiplex outside the city?" And at the time, it's a bit different now, but at the time, you could buy a property outside Toronto, which would cash flow very well, but would appreciate 1% to 2% a year.
Okay.
Or you could buy in Toronto, which wouldn't cash flow or would cash flow like $100, but would appreciate 6% to 7% a year.
Okay, so there's the two. You are of the mindset that even if I have to feed a property,
Yes.
getting something that can grow is likely going to be better than a cash flow, because the investor way of doing things has always been, well, it has to cover itself. Right? Like triple net. People are looking for this amount of cash out.
Yep.
But you're really thinking like growth is the key.
For the specific market I bought in, I had enough historical data that I was confident in, like, this wasn't a 1-year flip situation, right? It's like, I'm going to try and hold this thing for as long as I can.
Yeah.
And I know when you break down the carrying costs of it, it's like, okay, there's the mortgage, there's the condo fees, the strata fees, and then there's taxes and insurance.
Yeah.
But if I looked at the mortgage and split it up to principal and interest, renting it out on the cash flow would have covered all the interest, all the strata fees, all the taxes, all the insurance. And if I was, let's say, negative $300, it's principal. So it's really just like a forced savings plan.
Yeah. It's basically a TFSA, not really, because you're not full owner there. But anyway, so now we've got property B.
Sure.
2-bed you're living in.
Yep.
50% of property C.
Correct.
Okay. What's next?
Okay, next was a townhouse that I'm actually currently living in. Same situation, a good friend of mine from childhood. This townhouse came available. I said, you should buy this. Freehold properties don't come available in this area that often. I showed it to him. We walked in and he was like, this is great. I just don't think I have the funds available at this point. That's when the light bulb went off for me again. I said, you want to buy this 50-50? So I went into another partnership.
So you're looking at...
Yeah. I couldn't have done any of these things on my own.
You couldn't have done them on your own. Your friends couldn't have done them on their own. But you're identifying an opportunity and trying to capitalize on that.
Yes.
So did you move your friend to this property?
No. So when we bought this townhouse originally, we rented it to a family. I was still living at my condo, the one I bought for $570, the next door one, and he was still living at the condo, at his own condo as well.
Okay. So what's the cost for property? I think we're on D now.
Yeah, it was $950,000.
Okay.
Most expensive we had ever bought. I was terrified. I even remember when we sent in the offer, I was like, I wouldn't be mad if this didn't work out. Like I remember like really being worried about it.
You almost have to be, I think that you're not in a great spot if you're not slightly uncomfortable with pushing yourself. Because if you're just like, yeah, that's easy, it's probably not a property that could grow to where you want it.
And you know what? Just the down payment for that place, because I had split in about $100,000, that came directly from the refi of the investment one I bought before.
Okay.
It was like what I saved up plus my portion of the refi.
So you're the whole time you're doing this, you're pulling equity out of the properties that are growing to get to the next spot.
Up to this point, that had been exactly what I'd done.
Okay, cool. And now, having seen that property, it's the one you're in now, that is, for all the people that are watching this and specifically thinking about Surrey style of properties.
Sure.
It, for all intents and purposes, is what we would consider a tandem style 3-bedroom townhouse in my marketplace of Surrey. But here in Ontario, you guys have freehold attached properties.
Yes.
Which to me is absolutely
freehold
crazy.
Townhouse.
Yeah. It's a totally freehold townhouse, because I was looking and I saw that one out your back window and I was like, why is their roof different than the guy next door? It's because there's no strata.
No strata.
Okay, so that's crazy for me.
That's why I bought it, because I was like, freehold
properties. Because you don't then have a strata fee.
No. So the carrying costs on it, and again, there's obviously expenses along the way owning freehold properties, but there was no strata fee. It's just mortgage, taxes, insurance.
Do you guys have rental restrictions in Ontario?
We do have rent control, yes.
Rent control on price?
Rent control on price after, when they're already a tenant for 1 year, you can only increase it a certain amount.
But do you have a rule where the strata can rule out rentals where rentals are not allowed?
It is not very common in Ontario. Really? Most stratas allow for rentals in most buildings.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay, cool. So, but this is freehold, so you can rent it out whenever you want.
Do whatever, and that's exactly what we did.
Okay, so you rented that out. You paid, sorry again?
Paid $950.
Have you seen an increase there?
Yeah, that property is currently worth 1.3.
I'm being silly because it's 2021. Obviously, everything has gone absolutely nuts. Okay, so we have... you now have moved into that, spoiler alert, for everybody there. So the previous properties, so we've got a 1-bed condo, a 2-bed condo.
Yes.
Those are both now rented, or have you?
Yes. When I moved in to the townhouse, I rented out the 2-bed condo. The 1-bed condo was still being lived in by the other investor of mine that bought it with me.
Okay. Any of those cash flowing positive yet?
No. Well, maybe like $100 or something.
Okay.
But they were basically breaking even, but appreciating extremely well.
Growth.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then, so you're basically getting older. It's going to be family home, that sort of thing, probably downtown Toronto. What's the next step?
So the next step was at that point, and this one came out of nowhere, kind of. It was very similar, and surprise, surprise, I did this other one, partnered with somebody as well. Okay. There was a good friend of mine, like my university roommate, had said to me, like, I don't have the down payment ready right now to buy what I want, but I don't want to get left behind in the market. And so we sat down for lunch one day.
Hang on. Yeah. This is property number 3 that you've connected
with other people.
You really trust your friends.
I do trust my friends. I wouldn't do these things with it. I know it's been 3 different people, but I'm like pretty selective on who I would do this with.
Okay,
cool. We had looked at a new construction option, and this is in 2018 now. Okay. There was this really unique building that had come up, and We went in and we bought this one for $550,000. Again, split it 50-50. What's funny is it's literally actually finally closing. Like he's lived there for a bit now in interim occupancy, but finally closing next week.
What do you mean interim occupancy?
So there's something in Ontario with new construction condos when you get the keys and you can go live there, but the building hasn't actually officially become a condominium corporation. I don't think that's a thing in BC.
Oh no, in BC, so we have provisional occupancy,
Yeah.
and then full occupancy,
Sure.
final inspection.
Yeah.
In my marketplace of Surrey, it's not uncommon for the developers to not get the final, and it causes headaches in the future.
Yeah.
So it's one of the things you have to look for.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's already but it's not closed yet. Is there money in escrow or something?
It's about to be closed. We were literally setting this all up. Like it's going to happen at the end of this week.
But he's already in it.
He's been in it for 6 months, and you basically pay rent to the developer. That's a whole nother video.
You're blowing my mind.
Yeah.
You're blowing my mind.
Yeah.
Okay, so now that's the fourth property.
Yeah.
I did not know this, that you are legitimately like leveraging
Yes.
with trusted friends.
Yep.
Like that is a strategy that I had never considered. I don't think anybody likes me that much to possibly get to a spot where you can do that. I mean, I have bought an investment property with a partnership before, but my financial advisors always told me, if you can get out of a partnership on good terms, take the opportunity.
Yep.
So as soon as you have a good enough increase, you should jump out if you can. So that's exactly what I did. Now I've gone back in on another property, but
What if you had stayed? If you had stayed in that?
I wish I would have kept it.
Okay. So, yeah.
I mean, it's just like everything, right? You wish you would have kept it.
Yep.
I was terrified of that particular property just because of its age.
Sure.
You guys are much more used to that here because you are used to older properties.
Yeah,
I mean,
most
driving
homes
out
are
to where
100
we are
years old.
now, I was looking at like, it's almost, or it's at past Halloween, guys. And it was just like that. These are really haunted. Like they look that old, right? Like it's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So, okay. So you bought that property.
And that one, by the way, was because it was new construction. It was a staggered down payment.
So its full pre-sale was not constructed when you bought it.
It was a piece of dirt. We bought a floor plan. Yeah.
Okay. So multiple years ago.
That was in 2018. Yeah.
Did you buy that before you bought any of these other ones that you were talking about?
No. This was the last one until the cottage property, which we'll get to.
Okay, cool. Well, let's get to that. So, okay, so that buddy's living in that one.
Yeah.
Any of the other ones sold? Because we're currently at...
Not at this point. So there was 4 at that moment.
Okay.
What happens if we go back to that 50-50 one that we had refinanced? The first one I did a partnership with, and this was...
That was a one bed?
That was a one bed. Yep. That one we bought for $360, by the way. And we decided that guy was ready. He was getting a serious relationship with his girlfriend. They wanted to move to a house. We had this conversation about, okay, are we going to sell this thing? It was actually pretty perfect timing because I was at the point thinking, okay, do I want to buy the Toronto home, like the home, the dream home, the 10-year, 15-year home? Yeah. And again, this was like early COVID. You can blank that out if you don't want to get but anyways, so I just thought like, I want to buy a cottage. Let's do something completely different. But the only way for me to be able to buy the cottage that we are sitting in today is sell that 50-50 property. And every dollar of down payment I put into this, I got from selling that.
Came out of there, so no more money out of your pocket.
No.
Except for the beautiful renovations that we should probably show.
The renovations, yeah.
So did you have, so you and this investor partner that lived in that unit, you just had an agreement like this is best time for both of us to sell?
Yeah, it worked out pretty well in terms of the timing.
Do you have agreements of like how stuff is going to go down in the event that things don't go well or someone wants out early?
Yeah, we have a trust agreement that is written by a lawyer, and we sit down and review it before. Yeah.
There's so many, like in my marketplace, there's a lot of cultures that have multi-generational families.
Sure.
They don't like to have the discussion of like,
But you got to get ahead of that.
like if I decide, you know what, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
I'm moving to Calgary and I need this money out to go start my family. They just don't have those agreements set, and it can be so painful. Like if often one investor wants out a lot earlier than the other one.
Yeah, it happens a lot.
So I'm glad that you do that. Okay, so let's tell us about here, because this particular property is, I'm proud of you, man, for getting it.
Thank you.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
I got my own room because I'm staying here. What went on here?
Okay. So we had decided, okay, we want to buy a cottage property, and the only thing I cared about is it had to be on the water, which sounds obvious for a cottage property, but that was most important.
It's not obvious for a cottage property.
Okay.
Define, most of people watching this are going to be from BC.
Sure.
What the hell is a cottage? Like, we don't have cottages.
Sure. Cottages are what you'd think is like Muskoka, that kind of area. It's like a 3-hour drive from Toronto.
Okay.
You go, it's basically in the woods on a lake, or just basically that. It's normally like there's a little city, or there's a little town maybe like
Okay.
20 minutes away, but that's it.
They're generally rec properties.
They're generally, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And you wanted to just have now, I guess, your city property. You got 3 bedrooms. It's enough room to raise a family if you need to. And now it's like, okay, I want to get the hell away from the city. Like,
Yeah, and again, like this was during the time where we couldn't do anything, right?
Yeah.
Like when I started getting serious about this in early 2021, actually maybe late 2020 to be honest, and then we found this opportunity in February 2021 and jumped on it as quick as we could. Yeah.
Okay. So I can't imagine properties on the water
Yeah.
are going to be easy to find.
No.
3 blocks in, I'm sure they're a ton easier.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
Big country blocks, by the way.
Yeah.
When you bought this property, are you experienced enough where you're like, I'll just take it?
No.
Do you do inspections?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm assuming you're probably on well here.
Yeah, we're on well and septic, which is totally outside my comfort zone of selling properties in Toronto.
Yeah.
So what I did, like obviously I'm in real estate too, we both do this for a living, but I'm buying in an area here that I don't understand. I don't sell these type of properties. So I actually hired a realtor in this marketplace
Okay.
to help me find this.
Hang on. I got to point at a camera here. I don't know which one's on, but he's a realtor. You hired your own professional because it was outside of your comfort level.
I could have bought this on my own
Because you're licensed within
in Ontario, but I just felt like I didn't fully understand these type of properties. Like, I can close my eyes and tell you what a condo is worth downtown Toronto or a house like in that area. But up here, it's like private roads you got to deal with, snow. There's all these things.
Oh, okay. Because you had mentioned things like, when we leave here, you probably got to take garbage with you. Like, so
Yeah.
garbage pickup.
There is garbage pickup.
There
but,
is,
yeah.
but like things that you may not even consider or know about because you're city boy,
100%.
right?
Yep.
Like I always think of it this way. At my house, I flush and I don't think about it no more.
Yeah.
Right? I know out here, that's probably not the case, right?
Yep.
There's going to be things that you have to think about, septic inspections and
Yep.
that sort of stuff. So I'm glad to hear you did that. Okay, so you found now on the MLS, hey, my realtor I hired, come find me this property.
Not in this scenario. So I feel like I got lucky a little bit on this one, where the realtor that I had hired, named Sydney, who's awesome, she knew that this property was coming to the market.
Okay.
And knew the sellers well enough and said, like, do you want to come see it before it goes to the market? And I said yes. And
Do you think that happens more in small towns?
I think it happens more in small towns because there's actually less realtors and everyone kind of knows each other.
Yeah.
So I think it happens a lot more in the city. It doesn't happen as much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we have what in Toronto? Are we at 1 billion? There's 7 million people in Toronto, so there's about 6 million realtors. Is that
About
about right?
65,000. Yeah.
And I mean, Vancouver's the same thing. We've got 45,000 or something like that. What was the thing we heard from a presenter at a conference we were at? Just, if you throw a rock, you'll probably hit a realtor.
You will probably hit a realtor.
So yeah, I get it.
Someone with a real estate license.
Someone with a real estate license, absolutely. Okay, so you now have your cottage.
Yes.
It's beautiful. It's
Thank
gorgeous.
you.
Maybe insert pictures here if I can figure out
Sure.
how to edit that in. What's the plan?
So this was a long-term thing. Like when I bought this, I'm like, I'm keeping this forever, as long as I can. I want to pass this down. Like that's the type of property it is.
Is that something that happens with cottages? They get passed through families?
Very, very often, a lot of people that I grew up with that had cottages, it was because their grandparents had cottages that
Yeah.
yeah. Happens a lot.
Because that's kind of like a piece of Canadiana that we
Yep.
almost don't get on the West Coast,
Yes.
right? Because we drive 5 minutes and there's like a mountain here, and there's not a lot of rec properties. And I mean, I think the last time I went through Whistler looking at rec properties, they were like $2, $3, $4, $5 million.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just, you can't just go out and, oh, this is a nice place, right? It doesn't really work that way. So this is going to be I don't want to call it, is it a legacy type
Yeah,
property?
I don't see why not. Like I would have, whenever so far, the only reason I would ever sell a piece of real estate is to put the money into another piece of real estate. And I'm not saying that your money. Listen, if I put my money in Tesla a year ago, it would have been way better than this.
Yeah.
But I don't understand that, and I just stick to what I know.
I don't think anybody understands.
Yeah.
It's such a gamble, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure that all the comments will say this is a gamble too.
It is. Yeah. Of course.
What's next?
It's a good question. So I got my first kid on the way at the end of this year.
I'm sorry, and also congratulations.
Thank you. So what's next right now is surprise, surprise. Got a partnership thing going on. We actually have an offer accepted back in your area, a 5-plex in Vancouver. We were able to get a commercial mortgage on that, which does not impact my personal credit score, which won't impact my other buying residential properties here. So that's very important.
Cool.
Yeah.
Is that it?
No, I want to keep going.
You're gonna keep.
The way I look at it, like I knew if I liquidated all my properties right now, and obviously like I've got mortgages on them. When I tell you the value at the beginning of this video, like sure, it's not all equity.
Yeah.
A good chunk
Oh,
is. A good chunk is, but it's not all equity. So all of them are covering this cottage. If I were to rent it out 1 week a month, it would cover all of its costs. I could own it essentially for free.
Okay.
And that's something that we're considering. So what's next is I'm going to start looking more at the commercial side of things. I want to own more doors than just properties.
Yeah.
Also because just getting financing, they don't just look at income and stuff. They look at total net worth. And it's a little easier to get financing.
Easier but harder. It's
Easier,
It's
very
easier
complicated.
if you have money, or if you're worth more.
Yes, but I'm only worth more because I'd invested in real estate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not. For your residential properties, property manager or self?
I'm doing it self right now, but they're all within a 15-minute drive other than the cottage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. What do you know? Property management fees in Ontario?
I believe it can be up to like 10% of the monthly
okay,
rents.
So
Yeah.
super similar
Yeah.
to what we have. I appreciate you doing this.
Yeah, of course, it's fun.
What else can you tell me? What?
Okay.
I gotta.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna let you go with it. I was gonna say really quickly, like advice for first time.
Yeah, well, that's where
or
we're gonna go.
whatever.
That's where
But
I'm gonna go.
if someone's still watching this,
Yeah.
they're interested in investing in real estate.
Sure.
So I don't know. Don't talk to me. Don't talk to the camera. But
Okay, sure. Every investment that I've made, I've been a little bit scared. Like I've been like, oh, I don't know about this one, and then it always works out. And I've kind of even pushed myself to the point where like there's risk involved. Like this isn't for everybody. You can't be of the faint of heart. You have to be able to go through the ups and downs. And this is always a long-term play. But what I would say to someone that's like thinking about getting started is like, whatever you think your dream house is, it's not your first property.
yeah.
Like if I had just saved forever, not bought any of those ones before, and just tried to buy this cottage, I probably would have just been able to afford it by now, but I would have missed out on all these other opportunities.
7 years later.
Yep.
Yeah. Because that was, I mean, that always, I have a story that I always say about a friend. Like I bought a condo when I was 25.
Yep.
And I had a friend that was saving for, I think, a townhouse at that time because he didn't want to live in the, he wanted the garage and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And he got to that townhouse 5 years later and saved for it with 5% down.
Yep.
And, 4 years later, I got to the townhouse with 20% down because of the investment. So, I mean, it is the best way, obviously, for dummies like me to make money because I don't understand, like you're talking about. People are into crypto right now. People are into,
And
stocks.
some people make a lot of money there, but they also lose a lot of money there. So
Yeah, they can.
Yeah.
They can. Cue all the comments down below. You guys are about to lose all your money right now.
fine. But I'm willing to take that risk
Yeah.
because I look at the 40-year history of the market that I'm buying in,
Yeah.
and I understand there's ups and downs, but I'm not selling these things.
Yeah.
I'm holding them.
Totally.
And a lot of people in Canada have become wealthy by mistake by owning real estate.
Just by owning over
Yep.
a long period. Awesome. Thanks for doing this, man.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
And thanks, everybody. If you're still watching, make sure to hit the like button for Tom. They're not for me this time. For Tom, subscribe to the channel. If you like this sort of information, let me know because I think this is a great conversation to have.
Yeah, lots of
fun. We should definitely find more people to do them with. And next time I come back to Ontario, I would like an update to find out where you are
Sounds
next
good.
and how
Can't
many
wait.
more bazillions of properties and how you become so rich. All right. Thanks for watching, everybody, and check back soon for another video in another couple of days.